All right, lads, welcome back to a little emergency episode, a little emergency recording of this podcast. There was just such a big piece of official news that dropped, and something that I guess related to an episode we dropped about a month and a half ago, 2 months maybe,
Yeah,
something
exactly.
the Cuban crisis that we called it back then, and because of the magnitude of these news, there's just been so many people asking us to speak on this on Instagram, on YouTube, in comments and everything. So yeah, all the factors together just made us feel like we had to come together and record and just speak on this right now, lad. So what is it that we're talking about, really?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to skip everything, the different segments that we have, like what's in your glass and everything, and just get straight into business. Yeah, so the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 remained only a threat and didn't develop into full-fledged war. But the Cuban cigar crisis, if we may call it that, like we did a few months ago, has developed into reality. And since yesterday, May 10th, we're recording this on a Wednesday, won't remain a rumor. And so if you've missed the news, we're here to kind of summarize it for you and discuss the implications. So what came out yesterday is directly from Habanos. They've stated that all cigars in their selection, meaning every Cuban brand we know of, will increase in price on a global scale. But specifically, Cohiba and Trinidad will be the worst affected. So what are Habanos actually doing, or what are they saying? So they're hiking up the prices of especially Cohiba and Trinidad to match the Hong Kong market, which means that, for example, a Cohiba Siglo 6 will be priced at over $100, which for
that's not per
different
box, that's per stick, by the way.
That's per stick. Exactly.
We need to clarify because it's so outrageous at this point.
Exactly, $100, and in Sweden that's about 2.5 times the amount that we pay today. Yeah. And for example, in the UK, it's a close to 70% hike up on.
And they already have
a
high
single
prices.
Stick. Exactly. So what are they saying actually is the reason for this? Well, Habanos are saying that it's because of an imbalance between supply and demand. That is the major reason. And Lad, you mentioned the episode that we recorded in February. I don't know if everyone remembers this, but we were talking about a Cuban crisis, a shortage of Cuban cigars, where we discussed the different effects of that shortage, which included like the fertilizer shortage, which made tobacco land, I think it was a decrease of, or 20% of the land can be used for tobacco,
something like that.
Then different natural disasters like hurricanes and fires, rollers on strike, and then they also increased demand globally after the pandemic. Already then we were talking about how there were so few Cubans on the shelves. And we discussed if these events will mark the demise of Cuban cigars, and we were kind of like on the edge there, what we were thinking. But now I think that is certainly clear to us. And one can ask yourself, like, why are they making these price hikes? Well, the short answer, we'll get into the more discussions, but the short answer is that they can. What they're saying is that Cohiba is a globally recognized luxury product, and therefore they can be sold at Hong Kong's price level on a global scale. So they want to make Hong Kong prices the standard for Cohiba because they have the demand in Hong Kong and China, and Cohiba is always out of stock there. They were thinking that we can increase profits without increasing supply, really. So that was basically what the article on Cigar Aficionado was saying. And this is, remember guys, it's globally. So even if you go to Cuba, there will be Hong Kong prices on Cohibas, meaning that before you could buy one of the Cohiba Siglo 6s as well, they will be now 4 times the price in Cuba.
Outrageous.
The place where they are made. And it's
another detail that's important, because what you mentioned, basically Trinidad and Cohiba are confirmed to be pegged at the Hong Kong price. Exactly. So basically this is like a currency sort of pegging where it's just going to be adjusted to the Hong Kong price globally. The other brands they haven't spoken as much about. The Cigar Aficionado article did say that the big brands like Montecristo, Partagás, Romeo Julieta, for example, they'll be increased by a lot, but not pegged to the Hong Kong price.
Yeah.
And then they didn't speak on the smaller stuff. So that stuff is yet to be seen, but we're going to see an increase in everything, like you said, right?
Exactly. And this is the article didn't disclose who said this from the industry, but there was someone who was talking about when this was going to happen, and it's going to be different times depending on the local tobacco regulations, but somewhere within like a few weeks to months, depending on where you are. But it's definitely taken in effect directly. I mean,
it's happening for
store
sure.
owners and everyone, they need to protect themselves as well, so they can't be selling at the prices there today.
Yep. So that's what's happening, and there will be lots of implications. I guess we'll discuss some of those. But before, like Ruben said, we'll I guess talk a little bit about how and why we understand this to be taking place. Like why have they made this decision? Because we've had so many fascinating conversations about this with people that are connected to the industry and just like tobacco cigar fans like us in the DMs. I mean, I've never been so like I felt like Fabrizio Romano or someone like transfer guru. Like I was just on my phone all day yesterday talking to people in the DMs about this because this was so huge. And there were two sides of the argument here. Some people were saying this is sort of shooting themselves in the foot in the long run because they're going to lose a lot of people. And then there's the other people that are more cynical. I am probably in the more cynical camp with this, and my understanding to this, well, I think there's a very clear reason to why they're doing this, and it's what Ruben mentioned in short. They have a huge market, and you can just look at the numbers for this because this is factual, right? They have a huge market in East Asia where both China and Hong Kong have been growing exponentially in their consumption of Habanos in the last few years. It's been such an incredible increase during the pandemic where some of the other stuff went down by a little bit. China rose by 5% in 2020, where, I mean, that's an outrageous number for 1 year. Yeah. China also went from not even being in the top 10 a couple of decades ago to being the number one single country consuming Habanos cigars. Hong Kong's also one of the world's biggest. And both China and Hong Kong have just an outrageous appetite for luxury goods. I mean, we were invited to a Piaget sort of a speech or a seminar from the watch company, and Hong Kong has like 1/6 of the world's luxury watch consumption, and that's just one tiny like it's outrageous the amount of luxury goods they crave there. So, like I said, they have an outrageously growing market and a very, very powerful market in terms of purchasing power. Like they just can consume so much. So Habanos, with that in mind, and also the shortage in mind, like Ruben mentioned, right? They cannot keep shelves stocked as it is. And then they obviously what they do is they look at the markets which have the highest prices and are still consuming. And that the answer is China and Hong Kong, because the prices that we're getting now worldwide are the Hong Kong prices that they've been having for years. And they've been having these high prices that we in Europe think are outrageous, that we in Europe think will never sell, but they've already been having them for years and they've already been buying them, and they already cannot meet demand with those prices. So basically what they're saying is, we don't care if Europe goes away right now, because if Europe stops buying cigars, great, we'll ship those Cohibas to China, we'll ship those Cohibas to Hong Kong, they'll still be buying them because their prices aren't changing. And there's the other sort of factor here where there's a lot of traveling Chinese businessmen that travel both for business and people that are sent out, sort of like sicarios that are just like out on a mission to hunt Cuban cigars, and they'll go and fill their suitcases in Europe at a cheaper price and sell them in Hong Kong. We've been even contacted by some. I haven't told you, or I think I did tell you about one, but we've been contacted by legit people that want to buy our Cuban cigars. And now when they go to Europe, they'll have to buy cigars for their own prices. So that's an obvious reason as to why they're doing it. And like Ruben said, they can make a lot more money without increasing their supply, which Cuba just cannot do, right? They can't make the island bigger. They can't increase supply. So that's where we're at. That's why they're doing it. And it's a very sort of logical reason. It's an easy way to increase profits, but the questions that rise up then is it wise? Is it actually going to help more than just a very quick buck in the short run? And that's a much harder question to answer. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, just one thing that I wanted to also add, which could be a reason, is that we've been talking about this a lot in a couple of episodes as well, but the Allied Cigar Corporation, SL blah blah, which is is based in Hong Kong, is the company that acquired 50% stake in Habanos back in October 2020.
Right?
49%, exactly.
Huabao International, right?
Yeah, which is a Hong Kong based company, and they were like in the deal. They also had say in production and in distribution and everything. So it's not surprising that they want to be able to fill their shelves when there is a shortage of cigars, of Cuban cigars in Hong Kong and China right now. It's not strange that they want to, price Cohibas as they are in Hong Kong so they can move more of the distribution there. But to get back to if this is wise or not, I'm not really sure that it's going to be bad for Habanos and say, I mean, they'll lose Europe, like you said, probably, definitely.
A lot of it, at least, yeah.
Exactly. A lot of the regular, like us, we won't be able to buy Cubans on a daily basis or whatever. But like they mentioned also in the Cigar Aficionado article, is that this is going to lead to a just shift in customer demographic, which I also very much believe in, because now the Cohiba will be such a luxury good, and the Trinidad as well. They will be just such luxury goods that even regular people can't buy them. So it's going to reach that level. But there will be in China and in Hong Kong people who can meet like the supply, or the demand will meet the supply.
Yeah, I think I also want to preface one thing with this. May sound very xenophobic. It's not a criticism on Chinese people in general or whatever. Like,
of course not.
I lived in China for 4 years, and like I know this. A lot of it sounds like hearsay, and I do see a lot of sort of racism when we speak about this. To be honest with some people, it's not a criticism. It's just an observation. I mean, I know from firsthand experience the way their ostentatious consumption habits are. I know what the culture is like when it comes to consuming luxury goods in China. I mean, I know it personally, and there is nothing like an ostentatious product in their culture. Like it is just so very important to buy very expensive stuff. And that's why the price increases don't really matter, because the fact is that, if you're just establishing them more as a luxury good, the more attractive they become over there.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Macallan. And that's a very, I think, close example to what we have. And Macallan's only gone up by like 20-30% in the last few years. And Macallan's been one of those brands that when I look in communities online for whiskey, like the more nerdy people, they kind of boycott Macallan, and it's gone to that place where real whiskey connoisseurs, the people that call themselves that, they have stopped consuming Macallan, a lot of them, because it's the price to quality ratio is just so off now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Cohiba's already had that criticism a lot. Now, like Ruben said, it's come to a different stratosphere where Cohiba is just in its own league now, where the pricing has, before it had very little to do with its quality. Now I think the pricing has nothing to do with its quality. It's literally just a brand. And I hate it. But for me, I think I'm just going to, kind of block Cohiba out of my mind as a viable. It's sort of like when I need a new t-shirt, I'm not going to Balenciaga because it's a different product, that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's in its own category now. And I think like you're going to have to get used to that, or it's just going to happen naturally, because if you like it or not, I'm not going to put $100 on a Cohiba Siglo 6. It's a great cigar, but I'm not spending that money. And I'm very certain a lot of people who don't have the money won't put it either. Or even people who do have the money, like you said, they don't want to pay that price for what the quality is.
No chance.
So there's going to be a boycott, and there's going to be a boycott from people who can't buy them, like us as well. Like
Yeah.
we spent close to, right, yeah, $100 yesterday buying some Cuban cigars, for the last time probably.
Yeah, for a while at least.
um, and it got several sticks. So
But
imagine
we got
putting
some
that
cohibas in
some,
Trinidad, thank God.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, I mean that's the one side, and I am very cynical. Like I said, I think this is going to be very beneficial for Habanos in the short run. I think they're going to get a lot more profits, and I mean, who knows? Maybe they can invest. I don't know. I'm sorry, that's wishful thinking. They're not going to invest that into high. I was almost going to say they might invest that into making better quality cigars or whatever, but that's not going to happen.
Well,
It's the Cuban
you were
government we're
thinking,
talking about.
you were thinking like a company that wanted to actually grow and evolve in
Yeah,
there.
this is a
This
different
is
sort of
different.
regime we're talking about. But yeah, like I said, the consumption is going to keep going in China and in Hong Kong, so we're not really going to see anything different there. But let's return to
Mhm.
Europe at least for now,
Yeah.
because there's another aspect that I wanted to talk about, which is the culture, because this is what's going to be very, very big. I mean, first of all, I think there's going to be a big sort of effect on the people that are smoking cigars, because we have a lot of Swedes that just smoke Cubans. I'm wondering if their
Mhm.
consumption might go down, or I'm wondering if they're going to shift to non-Cubans. I think there might be a bit of both, but
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think about
I actually went into Friends of Habanos yesterday,
it? Okay.
when this came out, just to like see what the mood was like
Mm-hmm.
in the forums there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really somber. Of course, people were talking about how they were smoking their stashes knowing that they were on borrowed time.
Yeah, fuck.
um
That's it.
they were, some of them, or some people on Friends of Habanos are, just real Cuban cigar smokers.
Of course, yeah.
And I mean, they were talking about how they'll have to weave in some non-Cuban cigars, but that it doesn't really meet their taste, which is also kind of BS, maybe because they haven't gone outside of Cuban cigars that
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess people only smoke Cuban cigars will have to make the choice to either smoke non-Cubans or stop completely. And I don't see anyone smoking cigars just quitting because it's not
Yeah.
Cuban. I mean, um,
Consumption
what?
might go down for some, but
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Probably initially as well.
mm-hmm.
But what I feel like is that it'll leave room for, if we were thinking positive here, it'll leave more room for non-Cubans and boutique brands, and
Yeah,
we'll be seeing a lot of new cigars in Europe,
yeah,
which might lead also to like an increase in awareness by cigar lovers, and just the
yeah.
spreading of and more sharing in the community of new cigars. Like
Mm-hmm.
what is everyone smoking now that are just come from Cuban
Yeah.
cigars, and that might.
No, spot on. This is a paradigm shift, like you say.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a great way to think positively. uh I've been craving Illusione Tatuaje Foundation, for example, in
Mhm.
Sweden. I wish we had those brands. Maybe this in the long run might lead to it. I mean, the problem with Sweden is it's pretty expensive to register new brands here and stuff. But
Mhm.
now that you can't sell Cuban cigars, there's obviously a need to fill the void, right? Like you say. So
Yeah.
maybe some new brands come in, and that's a very good thing if that's what happens. But there's another aspect about the culture, especially in Europe, that I wanted to touch on. And I think there's an aspect here that some people have forgotten. And whenever I mentioned this yesterday on Instagram to people, they were sort of like, "Whoa, I didn't think about that." And this is something that I discussed with our friend Manny. I think we
Mhm.
talked about it when we were in the cigar club last week as well, which is the fact that the La Casa del Habano franchise is in
Mhm.
dire trouble right now. And let me explain why. Basically, the La Casa del Habano franchise, some of you guys might even have La Casa del Habano stores as your local cigar shop because they're so well distributed in some places. But they are the official Habanos franchise stores. So they're kind of they're licensed by Habanos. So if you want to open a La Casa del Habano, you have to meet sort of some guidelines that Habanos sets. And some of them are quality of store, whatever. But the most important one in this situation is the fact that if you want to open and register at La Casa Habano, you have to sell Cuban cigars and nothing else. You cannot sell any other cigars under that store.
Mhm.
If you're selling non-Cubans, you're breaking the contract or law or
Yeah.
whatever, and you lose your license. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's
Of
not like,
course.
oh, I can maybe get away with it. You can't. So they will, I guess, shut down, right? Like what can you see happen? I mean, they'll have to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
away.
Definitely. I mean, you can't keep a store open like that where the prices from one day to another, which they're going to go now, it's just going to jump up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I guess they do rely on, I'm not really sure of how their financials are, but I guess they do
Yeah.
rely on just regular people coming in and buying cigars and having like the smoke there. That's not going to be possible anymore.
And especially, I mean, this has to be a gut punch to a lot. I mean, we even know through Instagram some of the people that own some of these like Casa de Habanos, they're great people, but it's already been tough. Like we said, I mean, it's already been very hard to stock your store with Cuban cigars. So most of these stores have had a pretty tough year or two already.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that this comes out must be I guess they'll sell their stock very fast now, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as this sort of news settles and people realize, okay, well, that's it now. A Cohiba is 70 euros for a Cohiba Robusto now. Like, it's a different situation. Right. That's the reaction I get to when I hear that number out loud. But yeah, I do think it's going to lead to, and I'm not talking from this week to the next, because it's going to take some time for everything to really prove and I guess settle, right? But I think in the long run, we're going to be losing a lot more La Casa de Habanos because it's already difficult to operate them. There was one in Gothenburg many years ago before our timeline, but that one shut down just because it's hard to survive just selling Cuban cigars and like the licensing and all that stuff. So I think a lot of them are going to go away. Or I talked to Joseph Steinmetz on Instagram, and another one of our friends, and he showed us what the Almere one did. That's a city in the Netherlands.
Oh yeah.
And that's Yuri and some other guy that runs them. They're very popular and on Instagram and stuff. And they have kind of opened the next door room, like they've split the store.
Okay.
Registered the other part of the store and like registered that officially as a separate entity, and they called it something different. So it's not part of the La Casa de Habano, but it's next door, and they're selling non-Cuban cigars there only. So maybe, and they did that before this news, like a long time ago.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
savvy move. Maybe that's the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. It's
do you see yourself buying a Cohiba, lad? Like, do you feel like you would ever buy a Cohiba Robusto for 70 euros? Like, even ever? Or like, not even, because
I mean, if the time is gone that I don't have any Cohibas left, and it's been like a few years since I've had one, we're talking way down the line now, then maybe for a special occasion for some nostalgia. But Jesus. But I guess that's the thing here, that like I was thinking they can't possibly revert the prices when everything settles, right? Because then the damage will be done. Then the La Casa de Habanos will have a few of them might have closed, and it's just going to be way too much to start up again. So this doesn't feel like just a spur of the moment thing. It's just they can't the way things are now, right? No.
And I'm wondering how, because the legislation thing was brought up, and I had this conversation with someone else as well on Instagram. I mean, some countries regulate their pricing. So in Spain, you can't sell cigars for different prices between stores. Like, there's a nationally set price. When I've been in Brussels several times buying cigars, they have a second band even that the government puts on the cigar, and it says the price, and it's like this tax band, and it sets the price, so you can't decide whatsoever. So that's where I'm wondering how they'll get a lot of difficulty. And I'm going to keep up to date with my friends in Belgium, like Joseph, like I mentioned, because I think it's going to be difficult for, I think there might be a sort of a buffer period where Habanos are going to need to sort of, I don't know the legislation that well myself, but the reason they do that is because tobacco products are so regulated that you can't sort of just price it wherever you want. And I don't think the Belgian government will be so happy with this. I just feel like there might be a lot of issues there, and maybe Habanos will stop importing to some of these countries for a while as they settle this stuff. I mean, that could create even more chaos. I don't know. Just thinking out loud here.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. No, I was just thinking about how in a few years just seeing someone smoking a Cuban cigar will feel probably like strange, like you're smoking an antique, or it's going to be a rare, it's going to be a rare sighting, in the world. or in Europe at least.
Yeah, Ruben, our Cohiba Talisman 2017 limiteds, we were already kind of scared of smoking those because they were too rare.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
Cohiba Mexiques,
exactly.
those are going to be
Yeah,
$150 cigars.
how do you justify smoking Cohibas now that you've had as well? I mean, because they automatically
Yeah,
jump as well to those price points. Then
exactly.
it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna feel like you're burning money
So much,
right
yeah.
in front of your eyes.
But
Yeah,
it's very much we're very Armageddon like in this episode.
I
It's
know.
there's a lot of stuff to be seen with the other brands. I just can't see Vegueros being, and especially like Jose El Piedra and Quintero, like the short filler stuff. I just can't see it jumping up to. I mean, imagine buying a Quintero Brevas for like 90 crowns or something, with it being a short filler. At that point, you're €9, I should say, not 90 crowns.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's like you can get a non-Cuban Robusto
Oh
from
yeah.
a really good brand for the same price as a Cuban short filler. Like, I don't see them doing that. I think the short filler stuff will stay the level it is, because I
Yeah.
think it's just such bad quality tobacco. I don't think there's any need for them to bump it up. Like you're
No,
never
exactly.
there.
That's true.
You're never seeing shelves empty of Fonseca or whatever. So
No, exactly.
Jesus. Anything else, lad?
No, it was just this one thing on the Friends of Habanos forum that I saw a Canadian guy wrote that now with the plain packaging in Canada, along with this price hike, he just like said plain packaging and this price hike, the demise of Cuban cigars in Canada.
Yeah.
And
it's a dark thing to end on, and we're gonna, in the next podcast episode, we're gonna discuss some other dark stuff that's been happening, because the YouTube has been we're not going to go into it now, but YouTube has been censoring cigar content. Cigar Obsession, the biggest YouTube account on cigars, he quit and left YouTube, and some of our videos have been like restricted to very little audience, and we'll see how long we can keep uploading to YouTube. I don't know how quick it'll be, but there's a lot of like really bad shit happening against cigars in a short period of time. And I was really like, I was kind of affected by it yesterday. Like it was pretty dark, because it's been such a great community to us, right? And it feels like there's this outside entity just like trying to take away from it. It's tough, you know, like it actually really hurts to see stuff like this coming up against the stuff we love so much, right? So
yeah.
That
being said, if ending on something positive, then there are so many now also individual cigar producers, and that has really been also, we're lucky to have that increase along all the shit that's happening. You know, a lot of private people making their own cigars, and even, for example, like Edgar starting his own, and all these guys who are doing it. There's
still possibilities.
Cool, exactly.
Yeah, so, we're not going to quit, for sure not. Like, I mean,
not.
If YouTube takes our channel down, then we'll just upload to Instagram or whatever other, platform is viable. So it's still, I mean, we don't even have any economic stake in this. We're just doing it because we love it. So we're not going anywhere for now. But please let the DMs come, guys, on Instagram, and keep comment on this video with any of your thoughts, because there's so many. I mean, there's so much that we haven't even thought of yet. I'm sure there's stuff that implications that could come from this that someone has thought of that we haven't even, crossed our mind, because it's so fresh still, right? And there's so many things being affected by this. So please let us know whatever you think about this, and we'll hope to come back with a more positive episode next week or the week after that, or whenever we're back.
Thank
you guys so much for listening, as always. Thanks for this one, lad.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.